Afternoon. How are we all doing? My camera's a bit high. Oh, this is going to go wrong. There we go. Obviously a bit droopy today. How are we all doing? Afternoon, Steve, JC, Virginia, Maggie, John. Afternoon. I was just looking at the news just to see if anything had happened this morning. No, nothing's happened this morning. We've had quite a bit of movement on the yen today. I'm just been reverting the Swiss yen at the moment, but there's nothing much else going on really today. So yeah, boring. Afternoon, Derej. Afternoon, Emac. Yeah, nothing since this morning. So if you were here this morning, I did a drawdown control this morning on something. Can't even remember what I did it on. Euro New Zealand. It was that exciting, I've forgotten. So yeah, Euro New Zealand did a drawdown control on that. This is still sitting at 5%. This has been sitting around here for the last few days. So yeah, there we go. There's a live room. Boring. So yeah, so gone nowhere much today at all. Afternoon, Neo. Oh, you're on time, look. So yeah, nothing much has moved. We've got one RSI, one RSI, Euro Yen. It's just about got above the 70 level. However, I'd be wary about taking this RSI extension at the high of a range, but it's just a big, strong push up on the yen. So probably quite a good, actually, short area to take a trade. It's an ADR reversal. So rather than take this as an RSI, you take it as an ADR reversal because it's up at ADR today. So there's a few ADRs to look at. We'll go through those. I went through every pair this morning. So if you were here this morning, we've done the analysis on every pair. Nothing much has changed. Even these big ADR hits we've had on these yen pairs today doesn't really change the outlook on anything because they've just gone from the bottom of the range to the top of the range. So I'm not quite sure why the yen has sold off quite so hard. We've got no news really that I would expect them to sell off against. There's nothing on financial juice of any interest whatsoever this morning. And the move started before any of this news came out anyway. So it's just movement basically against the yen again. So looking at the US dollar yen, that 145 level we were looking at, which we're sitting around. That's not 145, sorry, that's 145 there. So this 145 level that we're sitting around, we are just still sitting around it until it breaks that high. We're not off to 150. And if it does break that high, then we probably are off to 150. But this is just literally just a push up today. So we'll go through the ADRs. DAX this morning got hedged at the open. Just hedged at the open, which is really annoying. But pushed up, banked 2.7, 2.4, 2.5 grandish. I took a second short when we started going into this accumulation, basically. It looked like it was reversing there. So I second shorted there and got out of the short from this morning there. So overall, $1,100 or $1,200 profit, which is all right. Banked 1.5% on the support resistance account. I took an Aussie dollar CAD this morning on that, which hasn't gone anywhere, funnily enough. Sorry, I took that on Friday, didn't I? Yes, I took that on Friday, and it went down, then went up, and then came down again. And now we're sitting around there. So that hasn't gone anywhere. Excuse me. I did take a Swiss yen this morning, so I've got two positions. The one that I closed out this morning was the Aussie dollar yen. So I got out too soon on this. And we got 4 minutes. So I got out too soon on this. I got out here. We basically tapped into Friday's high basically and rejected it. Yeah. So we pushed up, hit Friday's high, and immediately limit orders triggered off of Friday's high. So what I was wary about, because obviously the market has been moving down on the Aussie. What I was wary of was basically this just pushing straight back down and forming a range down here. So I got out there and banked 1.5%. Not a lot. Should have really let it go. But it's just got above ADR now. So took that off this morning. Swiss yen, I've just got into a short on that. I've been trailing a stop, a pending order on this all morning. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat today. Since we got above ADR today, I've been trailing a pending order underneath the low of each candle, trying to get in, and it hasn't let me in, and it's just rallied. It got up to 150 ADR, and we've just run into this accumulation. So we've got this high up here. So I've got a pretty tight stop loss on this, only a quarter of an ADR. Because we're at 150 ADR, the odds of going beyond 150 ADR, as you can see, are 12%. So there's a good chance that we are going to start to either go into some kind of accumulation up here and stop the rally for the day, or we're going to get that pullback. So I'm basically just looking for a 50% pullback on the day's move, basically as a quick TP. So this is a quick ADR reversal off of 150 ADR. We just got on the lower time frame a bearish engulfing, which has triggered me in. So what I did was I dropped down to M15 and I started trailing an entry underneath the candles as they were going. So you can see that one is the pending order that triggered there underneath that candle, because this thing's been like a rocket all day. They're going to want a profit take on this at some point today, I reckon. If not all the way back down to there, at least something. So taking a quick short on it, just for something to do, to be honest, because this market is driving me up the wall. Luckily, this account's done 8% this month, so this is basically pretty much paying me this month. Well, it's not paying me much, obviously. I haven't made a lot. Keep the wolf from the door while the market's going sideways. Afternoon, Fletch. Afternoon, Christian. Riding out a tropical storm and an earthquake. Good one. I heard it's a little bit hairy in Los Angeles. What you need is the Rock, because if you've seen San Andreas, he's really good in earthquakes and floods and stuff like that. So you need him. Just give him a ring. He'll come over in his speedboat and like beat up some sharks, kill some dinosaurs, usual stuff. Afternoon, Kennelly, Evans, Brian. I had to get my eyeliner ready. Can't trade without it. Nope. I'm going to come on one day with black eyeliner on, and I'm going to do a Greg Secker impression. I'm not going to tell you when. Not really. Afternoon, Marco. Daniel, how you doing? Hurricane Carol. Yeah, what's a funny name in it? Carol for a hurricane. The angry customer service person. Afternoon, Peter. Right, so market's going to open in a minute. Literally in a second. So we'll have a look at the other markets. I've still got a short on from Friday on the S&P 500. I've just got out of a short on the Dow that I had on Friday, which was a secondary trade, which I've just exited. So ignore this. This is a manual trade that I'm taking on this account. So we will see where we go today. No entry on the S&P, no entry pre-market on the NASDAQ. Ranges are too small today. So tiny little pre-market range of 45, minimum is 53, 132 there, minimum is 245. Have taken a short on the Dow though. So see where we go. Let's have a quick look at where we got potential to go to today. So Dow, they're all very, very similar. All the indices in the US at the moment are very similar. We've had this big push down. We had a lovely quick V-shaped recovery on Friday. So market tried to put another leg in and the buyers stepped in and pushed straight back on Friday. So we've got a reversal alert. Market structure shifted. So there is potential for a rally up today. We've got a long way to go. 150 ADR before we hit the next real resistance to the upside on the Dow. So upside on this, you've got that accumulation around ADR. Downside is obviously just going to be Friday's low. S&P 500, downside is Friday's low. That is also ADR. And then you've got that accumulation up at ADR today. So just ADRs basically. I doubt very much we're going to get a 150, which is where you'd need to get up to the next resistance. And the NASDAQ, same thing. We've got basically the low from Friday. and 125 ADR is that resistance, and then you've got that accumulation from Thursday, which is at ADR. So really it's ADRs to the upside and downside. So ADR to the downside is Friday's low, ADR to the up to the upside is kind of around about the high of Thursday for most of these. So plenty of room to go either way. Markets obviously are down at the moment, so we may well continue this downward movement. I would expect it will want to do some kind of profit take, or at least move into a range-bound movement. But you never know. We'll see what happens. So lots of potential to go all over the place today. We will see. So I'm going to trade the 5-minute ranges on the S&P and the NASDAQ. Already short on the Dow pre-market. Pre-market 15-minute range there. So we'll see where we go. Moment, not really going anywhere. Afternoon, Martin. XRX.news, afternoon. What's good? Stuck in some yens. Hoping the drop is deep. Should be. And if it isn't, it will be. Afternoon, AZ. Yeah, so basically the yens, just got a short on the yen, on the Swiss yen. Just going to try quick. The only reason this is a really quick scalp. So the only reason I've got a small stop on this, I would normally put a bigger stop on it, but the reason I got a small stop on it is because we're at 150 ADR. So if this does push above this high, there's something fundamentally wrong with the yen, basically. So I don't really want to be putting on a big stop loss on it, because it's much better to get a tight stop on at high ADRs. Because the probabilities are on your side, obviously a lot higher. Therefore, the money you can make is a lot faster and a lot bigger. So if I put a big half ADR stop on it, for example, we'd be stopped up at 200 ADR. I mean, it's very unlikely to get to 200 ADR. But to actually make a profit on it, I'd need it to push all the way back down into these lows. Whereas putting a small quarter ADR stop on it means I've only got to get 50% retracement, get out with a very nice 2-to-1 risk reward ratio, at least. So we'll see. Might not play out, but all these yens are extended. So blimey. Wow, NASDAQ's gone. Oof, off you go, NASDAQ. So NASDAQ, if you did take that pre-market on the NASDAQ, you've just made a fortune. Same with the S&P. You are 1R on the S&P. NASDAQ, you are at least 2 to 3R. Dow, you're going to hedge me, aren't you? It's been very, very hedgy the last few days. Daniel, Greg's out boating shirtless in a pond somewhere in the UK, on about AI these days. Yeah, probably. I've got ad blocker on now, so I don't see Greg anymore, unfortunately. Hedged on the Dow. Long, missed it. Didn't manage to get that trade on. Look, I've got a buy limit sitting on both of these. Couldn't get the trade on. It went too fast. Wow. There's a lot of volume today. So that NASDAQ pre-market was lovely. Yeah, so I've got an ad blocker on now on YouTube, so I don't get to see Greg anymore, unfortunately. Haven't seen him for a while. Haven't seen his new adverts and what he's up to. He spends more time putting on eye makeup and filming than he does trading and teaching. Obviously. Because that's all he is ever doing, isn't it? He's out. Anything that's got wealth attached to it, he's out in front of it with the camera. Nothing wrong with that. If I had that sort of wealth, I think I'd actually be enjoying it rather than going out and trying to film stuff. But anyway. Afternoon, Crom, if I haven't said afternoon already. Yeah, and AI. Yeah, good luck with AI. As good as forecasting the future as Darth Vader. As good as forecasting the future as a stretchy Darth Vader. Didn't manage to get that on. Look. I'm not even sure I want it on now, to be honest. Right, well, I'm just going to leave this to play out. I'm going to see what we get. So basically, I've missed these. I don't know if anybody else got these on, but basically, by the time the EA triggered there, this had jumped all the way up to there. So when the order was placed, it's turned into a buy limit. And the market hasn't pulled back to it yet. So if the market pulls back, which it looks like it's doing now, it's going to trigger that buy limit order. But at the moment, I am not on. I'm on now. So there we go. Buy. Yeah, no, I'm not. Didn't trigger me. Not going to let me in, is it? You watch, this thing's going to go parabolic today. It's not going to let me in. Nope. There we go. So this NASDAQ. Did anybody get on this NASDAQ pre-market? You're approaching 5R. Lovely trade this morning. Didn't get it. Peter's on it. Seca must be like Michael Jackson having his own film squad. Yeah. No. Few people got on that pre-market NASDAQ. Well done. That's the one to be on today. Okay, I'm going to delete these orders. I don't want to have buy limits on. What I don't want is, this is a very, very strong push to the upside here. What I don't want to do is trigger on a pullback, because this could be all we get today to the upside. And this might be a fake move, and then we're going to rally back strongly down. The Dow today hasn't managed to make any progress whatsoever. It feels like days since I've had a clean break. I'm sure it's not, but it feels like that way to me at the moment. So I'm going to leave the sells in order. If we get a break, if this is a false move basically this morning, and we get a break to the downside, I will trigger short. But I do not really want to try and trigger on a pullback. So upside, we are running into potential resistance anywhere in this area here, basically. I mean, the main resistance is could be anywhere in this zone here. So it's difficult to pick. If it's going to be the bottom of the zone, somewhere around here, yeah, we could be running straight into that resistance now, and it's just going to pop straight back down again. So same with the S&P, look. So we've already used that as resistance twice today. We're hitting it for the third time. If it rejects the third time, I think the buyers will probably give up. And then we'll push back and see if we can put a new leg to the downside in. So see where we go. I'll come back to that in a minute, because it's not really... Yeah, it's gone. Look, so we're through that area now. Struggling a little bit there on the S&P. Dow is really struggling to go long. So is the DAX, look. DAX is breaking down. Dow's breaking down. So this is not a sector purchase. This is basically just these guys having a little bit more of a push at the open. So I think this could all reverse today. We'll see. Maybe not. We'll see. Right. So let's have a look at the FX market. We've got quite a few ADRs to look at. So afternoon, Themba. So I went through every pair this morning. So if you want an analysis of all pairs, go and watch this morning's replay. I went through every single pair from top to bottom, including oil and gold and everything. So I've done everything there. We had no RSIs this morning. We've got one RSI here at the moment today. So there's nothing really to look at from a position trading RSI extension perspective. We had a couple of RSIs on the 4 hours. Those have now played out. So pound New Zealand this morning and something else. Euro New Zealand, I think it was. Pound New Zealand and Euro New Zealand this morning were extended to the upside. So yeah, basically that's it for this morning for RSIs. So we just went through every single pair. ADRs, most of these ADRs today are yen based. We've got the Aussie New Zealand in there as well, but that's not really an RSI extension. We'll look at that one in a sec. So Aussie New Zealand, as you can see, we're pushed up above ADR. It is starting to run out of steam now. I think if you drop down to M5, you probably had a reversal alert on that already, although it has just put a new high in on the last hour. You didn't quite get one, so you haven't quite had a reversal alert yet. So this is the first reversal alert you're going to get this morning on this one, or today on this one, at ADR. So good opportunity for a short there on the Aussie yen. Big strong push, so look for some kind of pullback, third half an ADR, somewhere around that area. Aussie New Zealand, so this one basically we had an awful lot of it's either a gap or it's just a crazy broker move. I would be wary of that being 125 ADR, but we got the reversal alert at 125 ADR, straight up into 125 ADR, as you can see, reversal alert, and we just put in an M pattern reversal in there. Not as keen on that one because it's gapped down this morning, but it gapped down straight into previous support, as you can see. So it makes sense that they would gap it down there, widen the spread. They've taken all liquidity from everybody that's gone long on this over the last 2 days. So I think that's a broker move rather than price action. So I wouldn't really look at that Aussie New Zealand. CAD yen. So CAD yen is an ADR hit to the upside. We've got 150, so it's tapped straight into 150 ADR up at the highs. This is a beautiful looking short. I've got the Swiss yen on at the moment, but the CAD yen is just as nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours straight up in London today, not looked back. They're going to want to profit take this at some point. So looking for a reversal on that one. The 5-minute reversal alert has already gone in. Wait half an hour for the chart to update. I didn't mean half an hour. Come on. So there's M15. So you can see on M5, you would have had an update. You would have had a reversal alert on this. Okay. So there's your reversal alert. There's your retest. M pattern. Beautiful. Coming down lovely. Off of 150 ADR, pretty much to the pip. You can see that dotted line there is previous day's high. So we've just pushed up into previous day's high. Limit orders are starting to trigger and push price back down. Everybody that's long on this morning is flipping short, getting out their positions and taking the profit. Swiss yen, same thing. So I'm short on this one. We just had, literally, as I flicked, we got the reversal alert on that one. So there's your initial reversal alert. I'm already short on this. I've just literally got short on it. We're almost up at 150 ADR. This one's not quite as nice as the CAD from a support resistance perspective. As you can see, we've got a little bit more distance to go. So there is a higher probability of a stop out on this one because we've got these highs up here, which would have been a better place to take it. But the fact that we pushed so fast and hard on this, I decided to get in anyway. If you look at the CAD yen has tapped into 150 ADR pretty much at the previous day's high. So that's more like a limit order trigger. But obviously, because the yen's been weak all day, when they start to do the profit taking, they have to buy the yen back. So all the yen pairs will move. Whichever they've loaded into today, or pulled out of rather with the yen, they'll need to load into yen basically to get the profit take move going. So good chance of a push back down on this, should be at least a 50%. There's obviously the chance as well on these of a push back down much, much further, or going into a range. If we're going to go into a range, obviously, this over the next couple of days could push all the way back down to range lows. So there's a lot of room potentially on these. Euro yen, same thing. So this will be doing pretty much the same as the Swiss yen. Already in this at the moment from, let's look at this. Back here. So I've been in this now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. I've been in this euro yen. I should have got out of it on Friday, obviously. Didn't know that was going to happen, but we've pushed up into the range highs. Exactly the same move is playing out. That is not going to be far enough for me to get another position on this. Only move. That's half an ADR. Yeah, from where I took that trade, this thing has moved up half an ADR. 60 pips. Yeah, half an ADR on this is 50. So in 8 days, it's gone up by half an ADR and down by half an ADR. An ADR. 8 days. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? But it's an ADR reversal. Good looking short. Euro New Zealand. Done a drawdown control on this morning. Already got short positions on it. We've hit ADR. We've come off of ADR beautifully this morning. So we went straight up into ADR. There's your reversal at ADR. It's pushed back down. You've got roughly... there's a bit of a weird gap there, but that would have been the trigger candle there. So you've had 23 pips out of this, which isn't quite a quarter of an ADR yet. So a quarter of an ADR is 32. So it hasn't really moved that far to the downside yet, but you've had the reversal alert on it. This thing's been pushing really orderly. Market structure on this is pretty textbook. Look. So it's constantly making new highs and higher lows. So a higher low on this means that we won't come and test that propulsion gap. You'd be looking for anything above pretty much Friday's low as a pullback on this. So if you're going to short this as an ADR reversal today, don't get greedier than ADR to the downside, because if it's going to continue on this route, obviously the market structure, we've got to put in a higher low, which means we're not going to get down below that low. So, however, Wednesday is news day this week. So we've got no news until PMIs on Wednesday, and we kick off with the Eurozone PMIs. So Wednesday morning, this is when we're going to get the movement on the euro. So this thing could well just sit sideways for another couple of days and go absolutely nowhere. So that kind of price action will continue market structure, but not really getting anywhere. As you can see, you know, from when I took the first entry on this, which is a little bit further back, you know, we've had one push basically. That's it. We've had one push. Nothing's moving, is it? So there's an ADR reversal opportunity there, only just extended though. You've also got the pound Swiss. So the Swiss francs had a lot of movement today. The Swiss francs started off really strong today. It's pulled back 50%. So good looking short opportunity there out of that propulsion gap. Look, lovely wicks to the upside, 3 wicks to the upside, short. That would mean the euro's got to continue to push and the Swiss franc's got to continue to push. The pound is also bullish. So I'm not 100% sure on that as a short. If you wanted to take a short and use a stop loss, you'd need something in the region of half an ADR as a stop. Really nice wicks there. To the upside. So it's potentially, I'll use my mouse today, looking to break that low. And we're holding out of this propulsion. So that's the propulsion move on the hourly. There's 3 micro sort of propulsion moves on M5 there. And basically they've added twice into that short move on the hourly chart. Yeah, so you see lovely wicks there. So there's your propulsion move. Yeah. So we tried to push back. Sellers took control. This is our first attempt to try and get back above these highs. Sold, sold, sold. So it looks like we want to test these lows down here. So good looking short opportunity potentially on that one. I can't really take that pound Swiss because I'm exposed short on the Swiss franc at the moment with this yen. So if I take the pound Swiss short, I'm going long on the Swiss franc, which obviously hedges me. So this move here, I'm anticipating yen strength. For the Swiss, the pound Swiss, you would need pound weakness. So I'm not going to take that on there, but that's a good looking short opportunity. If you want to be super safe on it, as I say, if you looked on that M5 chart, that's your M pattern on M5 forming right now. Yeah, so you've got a lower high going in. So a break of this low here would be a good entry on that if you wanted to take a short. And obviously, if you want to stop above the highs or just have a nice wide stop. But the pound is bullish, so be careful with that one. We're expecting positive movement on the pound. Pound yen, same thing. So that's 125 ADR today, pretty much, just shy. Back up at resistance. So looking for a profit take move. That could well just continue and slam out these highs. We don't know what's going to happen with this yen moving forward this week. It's certainly been weak, obviously, the yen. Could well continue. It's down to the US dollar, basically. We're probably not going to find out until Wednesday. So pound yen, nice ADR reversal, drop down M5. Your reversal alert has not gone in. Yes, it has. You've had a reversal alert on M5. Oh, no, you haven't. Sorry. No, lower high. So yeah, you're just about to get a reversal alert there. Watch this area here. Potential bounce. New Zealand dollar yen, ADR. That's, whoops, wrong one. That's already come off ADR. You've missed that one. That's a beautiful double top. So this, that Aussie yen, remember I got out of my Aussie yen long. That was the move on the Aussie yen that I was anticipating. Yeah, so if you look at the Aussie yen, I got out here on that candle because I was anticipating a hit of that high and then a rejection. New Zealand dollar yen did what I was anticipating, which is hit that high, limit orders triggered, cause the rejection. So that was a beautiful entry. I didn't see that one this morning because I was already in the Aussie yen. But you got a lovely reversal alert on that, and it's just starting to play out now. So there's your M pattern reversal, reversal alert, retest arrow, M pattern drop. Look for these wicks as potentially a target. Entry on that one, really tight entry on that one. So 36 is half an ADR. That's 27. So 18 is quarter of an ADR, which is there. So somewhere in here is an easy, quick scalp exit. That one's short. And US dollar yen, our friend. So the US dollar yen, basically, we're looking at the 145 level as to whether this can hold or break. So we broke it last week on Monday. So on Friday, we said this is going to be a key day on Monday. We need to see if we're going to break and hold that 145 level. The Bank of Japan stepped in and said, we're not happy about the FX movements, the speed of the FX movements. So we were waiting to see if the market got scared, as it did before, and drop, or whether they rallied it. And what they actually did was hold it for 3 days. Then we had a big, strong move up, and they reversed the whole thing on Friday. So we've got a midweek reversal on it. This morning, they've pushed it up again. So the question is this an M pattern reversal? Yeah, up here. That was our initial reversal alert. Or is this a pullback into previous? That's the resistance at 145, acted as support. Is this a support bounce and we're going to rally onto 150? Until we break that high, that's our confirmation of going for 150. If that high holds and we start to push back, we're looking for a pushback somewhere into this accumulation initially, or potentially lower. So we're not going to find out the answer to this question either until Wednesday, because we've got no news on the US dollar that's going to be impacted until the PMIs come out 2:45 Wednesday afternoon. So we'll see where we go. This, to me, looks like it's one of those moves that's just going to kind of go like that over a couple of days. So we'll see. It might not be. It might just fly. But this is a good mean reversion opportunity as well. If you drop down to M5, that was the high. So you haven't had a reversal alert on this yet. We just put a new high in. So this will be your first reversal alert at ADR on the US dollar yen. So nice tight reversal alert potentially there as well. So all these yens, really strong pushes up today, all good ADR reversals. So yeah, just see basically what they do today, but looks pretty good. So yeah, so those are your ADRs. Lots of opportunities, mainly yen based, and a little bit of New Zealand. So Dow's gone out the lows. still going out the highs on the NASDAQ. S&P stalled. Look at this weird movement today on these indices. Look, real divergence. So we got divergence with the NASDAQ and the S&P. Yeah, so NASDAQ's rallying new higher highs. S&P is putting in lower highs. So S&P struggling to get a break today, whereas the NASDAQ's had no problem at all. Dow Jones and the DAX absolutely smashed. So real mixed bag of move across the board today. Very hard to read anything into any of this today. Quite glad I would have got taken into that long there, which would have been good, and I would have just entered a long on the S&P there if I'd have left those orders in place. But I'm not convinced. The fact that the Dow and the DAX are collapsing this fast, I'm not convinced these are going to hold up today, especially as the S&P is putting in a lower highs. So when you get the S&P and the NASDAQ divergent from each other, one of them is winning, one of them is going to take control, and the other one is going to rally and start to mimic the other index. You just don't know which it's going to be. So either the S&P is going to break its highs and run with the NASDAQ today, or this is a temporary move on the NASDAQ, which is going to get stalled out because there's no power and no follow through using the S&P, and this will just collapse down, and then the S&P will drag the NASDAQ down with it. That's your choice to make. One of those is going to happen. We don't know which one it's going to be. So, but we are putting in lower highs at the moment on the S&P. So we've got a contraction forming here on the S&P, and the NASDAQ, obviously, we're off to the highs. So one of them is going to pop. Dow's obviously schizophrenic, not having a clue where it's going today. There we go. So that's all the analysis done. Daniel, short on the pound yen. Yep, that's good. All these yens are good at the moment, but you know, it's a case of waiting to see. We might get new highs on these yens. They might still push. So you know, whenever you're taking an ADR reversal, you know, have to think in the back of your head. We've hit ADR. The reason we got the alert on ADR is because the thing's gone parabolic. So you are trying to mean revert a steam train. You're trying to jump in front of a moving train, basically. But we know that the banks and institutions only move within an average daily range the vast majority of the time. So they do run out of steam. You can only buy as long as there are other institutions willing to sell to you. Yeah. So we're wanting to buy the CAD yen. We've been buying it successfully for 6 hours. Eventually, the other banks and institutions are going to turn around, and when you say buy, they're going to go, nah, don't want any more. And at which case, then you get to a point where you go like this. And you have no other choice but to get out of those positions because you can't literally push it any further. This is why ADR exists, and this is why this indicator exists. We know that 58% of the time, it stays within an average daily range. So when we're outside of it to these extents of 150, the probabilities get higher. But there's a reason for this. It's either just a big bank move where they've got large orders to execute and they will be making profit on them, in which case we'll get a pullback, or there's something going on with the yen that we don't know about and they're piling out of the yen for some reason. If that's the case, obviously ADR means nothing. They will just continue to pile out until they have had enough. So ADR's always tricky, but a lot of the time, obviously very, very successful because we know the statistics on them. So Daniel cashed out the Aussie yen. Yep. So as usual, I was out way too soon. I got out there way too early. Didn't, so left half of it on the table. I can't remember where my TP was on this. Tell you where my TP was on this. It was 94,350. Yeah, I put it all the way up there, didn't I? So I put my TP all the way up there at that propulsion gap. The idea being that obviously you can't see, can you? Because my head's in the way. So the idea, obviously, for this trade was the quadruple bottom bounce. So if this was going to hold, the idea was that we were going to push back up and retest these highs. So that was the TP, that propulsion gap. I'm just very, very, very wary about longing the yen at the moment. I just don't want to long it because I know what's coming. At some point, if the US dollar continues to push, it's going to drop. So I just don't. A little uncomfortable being on the being on the long side on it. Give me a sec. Just adjusting stuff. Yeah. Okay. Wednesday is going to be a massive drop on all the yen pairs. How do you know that? No news on the yen on Wednesday. What do you think about the BRICS meetings this week? I don't know. I don't know what to make of the BRICS summit. We haven't had one, have we? Well, we have, but the inaugural BRIC summit was held in June 2009. So it's not something we've paid an awful lot of attention to in the past, but it's getting a lot more traction at the moment with what's happened with the COVID recovery and everything with the US dollar. And our reliance on the US dollar with the war breaking out in Ukraine has become evident that it's not good to have all your eggs in one basket, basically. So the US dollar has always been the world's currency. Every country in the world has always transacted in US dollars, meaning that they are very much in control of a lot of global pricing. And when we had all the stuff going on with COVID and with the war in Ukraine and energy, it became obvious, much more obvious, I think, to everybody that we shouldn't be doing that. So this has become much more forefront now. This has got the potential to take a lot of international transactions across these four currencies. The Russia bit for the West is not of interest. Yeah. So Brazil, India, and China is of interest because these are big trade partners with everybody in the West. Russia, none of us are trading with at the moment. So there's a bit of a fly in the ointment and a bit of an east-west divide forming, obviously, with currencies. So what's probably going to happen is a lot of the trade from those countries, from these areas, is going to be demanded to be transacted in BRICS currency, and everything else is going to be transacted in the US. So what that's going to do for the US is there's going to be less volume of transaction going through the US. That doesn't mean that's going to devalue the US. Yeah. Just because you do a lot of transactions in it doesn't mean it makes anything more or less strong. All it means is that the movement on that instrument or that currency is high because there's a lot of push and pull. Every time we buy something, we sell something. Buy it in US dollar, sell it in US dollar. Buy it in US dollar, sell it in US dollar. US dollar doesn't get any more powerful. It just gets a lot more money moving through it. That will drop. So volatility will drop, basically. Volume will drop. So I'm not sure quite what impact this is going to have. Obviously, all the economists and stuff will be analysing all of this information, but it's come onto the radar a lot more now. So be interesting to see. What we will probably find is you will find that trading the yuan or any of these currencies, basically not the ruble at the moment, obviously, but all these other currencies, you'll probably find that trading them as FX pairs will become more desirable. That might be what happens. So we'll see. But I don't know. Too early to tell anything, really, I think, at the minute, with any of that stuff. Let's say the Japan are going to pull another sneaky ninja move to fix the this imbalance. If you could only trade one yen pair, which would it be? you can find that out yourself. Go and have a look at the fundamentals, have a look at the directional bias scorecard, have a look at the yen pairs, and see which one is the biggest sell. Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar or New Zealand dollar at the moment would be the biggest sells. So if you're going to trade one pair against the against the yen to sell it, Aussie or New Zealand, fundamentally, they've got the worst fundamentals against the yen at the moment. However, I would say the fundamentals with the yen are a little bit skewed because of the interest rates in the yen having never moved. So when you look at the yen interest rates obviously being fixed negative, and they have been fixed negative for long time, the bias scorecard obviously takes interest rates, inflation, GDP, and unemployment into account when it's doing its calculations. You'd have to take interest rates out of that calculation. However, saying that, as you can see, we've got a +1 and a 0. So you'd basically take one off of these, which would make that a -4 and make that a -5. So actually they're better sells because of interest rate differentials. So yeah, Aussie and New Zealand, I would say, are probably the best sells. You can see that. I mean, if you look at the other pairs, if you look at all these Aussie pairs, yeah, look at where the high is in relation to where we are currently on the Aussie yen and the New Zealand yen, yeah, high down to there. Look at things like the pound yen. We're up here. The euro yen, up at the highs. Swiss yen, up at the highs. CAD yen, up at the highs. US yen, up at the highs. Aussie yen, down. Yeah, so we know they're weak. Yeah, the Aussie and the New Zealand are weak. That's what the bias scorecard is telling us, and that's what's that's what the market's doing. So these are the ones that, if the yen does intervene, these will be the FX pairs that move the fastest. However, when you need to put money into the yen, you will pull it out of the US dollar to do so. So you will find the US dollar movement will be probably the biggest. If and when. But at the moment, there's no, it's radio silence from Japan, isn't it? There's nothing. So we're not getting any movement out of them at the moment. Oh, these are doing nothing today. So the S&P is testing the Globex high at the minute. And rejecting it. So limit orders triggering at the Globex highs. Look, not able to get through there at the moment. So we might find we get a little bit of a flush here, in which case then we'll bring the NASDAQ back down as well. And the Dow is, and the DAX, new lower lows going in every candle on the DAX. The Dow, that propulsion gap has held. They've added into that propulsion gap, pushing short. So all feels very heavy. Feels like it wants to come down. Durej, in that case, we give more weight to ADR or RSI extension for reversion. In what case? I don't know what I was talking about when you said that. ADR and RSI are totally different measurements. Yeah, they're both extensions, but ADR is an intraday movement. RSI is a multi-day movement. Yeah. So when you're looking at ADR, it's the average daily range of an instrument. Intraday. RSI is the relative strength of an instrument over whatever period of time. Yeah. So from RSI high down to RSI low can take many days. ADR is reset every day. They're totally different measurements. One is an intraday movement. One is a relative strength of two currencies over a period of time, which is however long. Yeah. Obviously, ADR, the downside to ADR is when you get a fundamental shift, you'll get an ADR hit. When you get a fundamental shift, there is a lot more volume and volatility that comes into that instrument. So what happens is your ADR over a period of days will suddenly expand. So when you get a fundamental news event on something where you get an interest rate that hasn't come out as expected, so looking at something like probably Euro New Zealand is probably a good example. So when you not particularly when you get an event that you're not expecting, what you tend to do is you get an ADR hit and then you get followed on with another ADR hit. So because you've got a bigger than expected ADR movement, what happens is, as we calculate ADR over the last 10 days, your ADR figure from there to there, for example, suddenly from when you measure it from there to there, it's much bigger, because you've got 2 big moves in that calculation, whereas you had 10 smaller moves previously. So when you get a fundamental shift and a big move, ADR for a couple of days afterwards becomes less reliable, because it's obviously wider expanded than it was previously. So as we've got no news at the moment, the ADRs at the moment are pretty solid, because obviously the news that we're getting is very light at the moment, has been for the last couple of weeks. And the movement off the news is virtually nothing, because obviously there's nobody trading at the moment. The banks and institutions are all on holiday. So there's no volatility in the market. So ADR reversals, when you get them and you get a reverse alert, don't forget, you don't just take a trade because you get an ADR reverse alert. You get a trade entry when you get a reversal alert at ADR. That's the signal to get in, not the condition. Those are working pretty well, because the market's not able to sustain these moves, because there's just not enough volume at the moment. Everything's all over the place at the moment, as we know. So there you go. There's your reversals kicking in. So Dow, nice move to the downside. S&P's rejected the Globex highs, and that is starting to drag down the NASDAQ. So if the NASDAQ breaks back down below that low, that's a market structure break to the downside, being pulled down by this. So it looks like we are starting to sell off. So don't know what I'll do with these today, to be honest. I've still got this trade running from last week, so we will see. I don't normally hold over the weekends on indices, but I am in this case. AJ, if you don't put all your eggs in one basket, then how many trips to the store do you need to get a dozen home? That's food for thought. Many? Do maths on a Monday. Sorry, Derez, you mean if both hit the high? Well, it doesn't matter, does it? They both hit the high. What are you trading, Derez? They're completely different systems, different strategies. So at the end of the day, they're both a reason to get into the market. So it doesn't matter which one you take, whether it hits RSI or whether it hits ADR. If you decide to take a trade when one of those is hit, you take a trade. You're in, short, long, whatever. Doesn't matter which you take, does it? Steve, is US 500 and SPX 500 the same? Yes. Standards and Poor's, S&P 500. Same thing. How do you calculate the point of control? You don't. You can't calculate a point of control in, well, you can in futures market, you can't in FX, because there's no centralized volume. Point of control is the highest volume point of the day or the session, basically. So if you've got a volume profile, for example, so if you look at this move here, right, I can tell you the point of control. I haven't got my futures platform open, but the point of control today will be somewhere around about there. Yeah, because the volume profile today will look something like that. Yeah, so that will be where the vast majority of the volume for the day has gone in, and that becomes your point of control, or POC as it's called. And it's calculated basically by the highest point of volume for the day. But with your CFD brokers, there is no centralized volume. So the volume that you see, if you turn the volume on in here, the volume that you see shown on the chart here is only the volume provided by Forex on their cash instrument, CFD. So this is not centralized volume. So if you put a volume profile on here, and you can get volume profile indicators for MetaTrader, but there's not much point because you are only seeing a skewed version of volume. You're only seeing your broker volume. So if, for example, you've got a broker that is brand new, has 15 clients who are all trading $1,000 accounts, the volume going through those 15 clients or 15,000 is going to be totally different to the volume with Forex, who has tens of thousands of clients trading hundreds of millions in volume. Totally different volume profiles. The reason people use volume profile, footprint charts and all that is because in the futures market, you have a centralized exchange at the CME and every transaction goes through the CME. So they know the volume of every single tick at every point of day. So you have a centralized overview of the charts, which you don't get in CFDs. Do you, Gordy? I don't think we've done that today, have we? We did it this morning, but no reason to look at it today because, as you can see, you are bang in the middle of this 2-week range now. It's 2 weeks and 2 days sideways. No idea. Short it up here somewhere, long it down here somewhere. Just not of interest at all. Look at the RSI. It's been flatline since there. So I'm long on this at the moment. From all the way back here on this RSI extension. So we moved sideways basically for a week and a bit. Then we had some news which drove the US dollar up, and we've been sideways ever since. So I've literally got 3 positions on it. We looked at this one this morning. I think it's 3 positions in a month. Where is it? The 19th of July I entered this. We're now on the 21st of August. And it's moved a grand total of 317 pips. So three and a half ADR in 4 weeks. So it's done 3.5 times its normal average daily range in 4 weeks. Just sitting, waiting. This could turn into a bit of a nasty squeeze. If this US dollar drops, pumps for any reason, or for example, Powell comes out and says, you know, that 6% we're looking at on the interest rates, we decided to make it 5.5. That's coming down like a rock. So it's a bit of a precarious position to be in it at the minute, but there's hardly any drawdown on it. I mean, 0.5% of drawdown on it in 4 weeks. Done some drawdown control on it. So, you know, it's taken probably 1, 2, 3. In fact, I haven't taken a loss on it because I've got 2 profits on it. I've taken 1, 2, 3 drawdown controls. I've banked profit there. I've banked profit there, which is paid for the drawdown control. So it owes me nothing. If we can literally get a 1 1/4 ADR move to the upside, I can get out and walk away and have nothing to do with it anymore after a month. It's not going anywhere, is it? You're long as well, but in drawdown. You can cut it if you want. I mean, it's the odds now are the same as they were there. Yeah. When we got into the initial position on the RSI extension there, we were looking for a pullback continuation, pound, US dollar. Nothing's changed from a fundamental perspective on this, really. So the odds there we were looking for longs. The odds here are 50-50 as to whether it's going to go up or down. If you cut it here and take the loss, and this thing flies up into this propulsion gap on Wednesday, when we get the PMI figures for the US and they all come out as negative, and this thing flies to the upside because we have green results on the pound, you've just taken a loss for no reason. If it drops, it depends what your drawdown is, doesn't it? So if you're uncomfortable, get out. what's the worst thing going to happen? You're going to take a loss on your account of X, Y, or Z, and wait. Yeah, it's, wait for the next opportunity. As you can see, there has been no RSI extensions on this since there. So that was the RSI extension that I took. Since then, we've had a couple of touches here, which have worked out nicely. But, it's just not gone anywhere, is it? Total sideways. Mess. It's all a mess. Everything's a mess. Everything's just a squeezy, nasty, not going anywhere mess. Honestly, I think just if I can come out a break even on the month, I'll be happy to get through August and get it back to normal movement in September on everything at the minute. Even range bound trading, I've done this month, I've done 9%-ish. 8% on taking just range bound opportunities, just literally high-low scalps. But even that, it's hard. Everything's hard this month. Has anybody got any other pairs they want to look at specifically? Okay, S&P looks like it's going to trigger my shorts. NASDAQ, I'm just going to cancel off the NASDAQ. I'm not going to get into a short all the way down there because by the time we get there, this thing will have already put in a fairly decent move. Why did you not cancel my orders? So there's no point in really taking a short on that one. Dow, I'm in short already. TP's on the Dow. Basically at these lows. So if we can push down on the Dow today, there's 5R on that range. So if we can get a hit down into these lows, I'll exit the shorts and then try and get back out of those longs. But basically, I'm just hedged into $1,200. I've made $1,200 on the DAX this morning. So at the moment, that pays for that. And I've got my trades on from last week on that one, which I'm managing. So tough day today. Go over GJ. Yeah, I did. But pound yen is the same as all of the other yens at the moment. So we've got ADRs across the board on the yens. Up at resistance, basically. So good 6-7 hour push. We have stalled out here now. Looking for mean reversions on all of these. But yeah, I'd be looking for shorts on it. I'm already short on it from the H1 M5 entry back here. Again, same sort of thing. We've been stuck in this for 10 days now, sideways. So 2 full trading weeks. And all that's happened is it's pushed up by a couple of ADR from where we were. So we pushed up the 340 off of a 124. So 2.5, 3 ADR. So I got 3 shorts on this at the moment. If we can break above this high, I don't think we're going to, but if we can break above this high, I'll get the 4th short on there, which will bring the average up quite nicely into this propulsion area here. Sorry, not propulsion, this accumulation. Yeah, so we got these 2 nice little areas of balance here, which we had a little price discovery, which failed. This is a second price discovery. If we can't put a new high in there, I expect we'll come and try a price discovery to the downside. So if we can get out of that high, I'd like to get another position on this, but I don't think I'm going to. So from where we are here, I need somewhere in the region of 85 pips to the upside. Which I should be able to get on, to be honest. Oh, that's so tight. Look, that's 85. I'm going to have a quick look at the VPS and see what the distance between trades is set to on this. 121. It should be 121. 90. Yeah, see, I'm going to need 90 on it. So that reversal, let's say it triggers in the middle of that propulsion gap. That's 85. That's not enough. I need 90. 90 is 3/4 of an ADR. So what I ideally need is I need to push above that high to bring the reversal up a bit higher. That will get me into another position. I'm pretty sure that's going to be 90. God, this is taking forever to boot this VPS at the moment. I kind of want to restart the VPS, but I hate restarting my VPSs because it's just worrying every time you restart it. Wake up. I'll wait for that to wake up. But yeah, so I've got my distance between trades set to 75% of ADR. So this is 124 is ADR, which is 93. So that is pretty much 85. So what I might do is I might set a pending order there, manual pending order, so that if that does trigger that alert today, I will enter it manually with an order just to bring the average up a little bit. If it pushes up, I can obviously then cancel that off and it will get in automatically with the EA for me. That's really close. VPS is come to life now. So it's come to life. It's not exactly responsive. Oh my God, this thing. It's because it's so hot at the moment. I think my machine is also, fans are on full whack. There we go. Pound yen. So yeah, distance between trades 93. So there to there. $85. So yeah, I might have to take a manual on this. Just see what the lot size should be. So the next trade is going to be pound yen. Where you gone? Next sell. So it's there. Next short trade 0.49. So just putting a manual entry there, 0.49, just under that, under the low. So I might get triggered into this and then it push back. If it does, it does. But I'd rather have a trade on and get the average up a little bit on this than not at the moment, because I have got 3 positions on this at the minute. So what I don't want to do is have this price pull all the way back down into these lows with my average being here. So triggering that trade is going to jump the average up above that low. So it will give me, if I wanted it, it would give me an exit. So pretty much the same trade there. So that's where that last entry was. I took that one off on Friday. We've pushed back up again. So I want to get that back on. If the EA is not going to do it, I want to do it manually. Good day, David. Afternoon. How are we doing? Okay, so I've just exited my S&P shorts from the other day. That's just another trade I took. So I was just averaging out of that position, basically. Pay for the longs on Friday. So I am short now on S&P. $1,200 in profit by the looks of things. Dow Jones, 4R, nearly at target on the Dow. So basically, when we get down to these lows on the Dow, take the short off. Sorry, take the short off there. And look for a bounce at the previous low. And then I need a push up of the range, the initial range. So if we can push up higher than that initial range, I can then exit the long positions and bank a net profit. So a little bit further Dow, if you would. Another 34 points on the Dow. Be able to get out those shorts, which would be good. So overall, 2.5 grand up so far today. That's guaranteed profit, pretty much. This is the only fly in the ointment at the minute. See. Anybody got any other pairs they want to have a look at? If you do, let me know. Otherwise, not really got a lot else to cover today. Holy crap. I was just going to look at the H1 hedging set file and see how that's getting on this month. Not great. 4%. Still sitting in 32% of drawdown. It's just stuck. Everything's stuck. This is the problem with hedging. That's why I don't like it. You can get stuck. Everything's just stuck in drawdown at the moment. Very, very tricky month. It'll all unravel itself very, very, very fast. You know, within a few days, it'll all just completely unravel and it'll all turn into profit. It's just eating, isn't it? Right, I'm not here on tomorrow or on Thursday, so I'm here on Wednesday. So we'll do the Frankfurt session on Wednesday as usual for the DAX in the morning, and then we do the usual US afternoon session. Can I go through gold? I can. I'll do that in a sec. So just be aware of news this week. You've got no news today, obviously, as we know. The BRICS summit starts tomorrow. There's no red news tomorrow, so there's nothing that's going to potentially impact the market a lot. We have got existing home sales and RMI tomorrow, but other than that, there's not a lot else. We've got retail sales for the New Zealand dollar overnight as well, but it all kicks off on Wednesday. So there's a good chance, I think, tomorrow we'll undo any movement that we've had today, and anything that's range bound today will probably stay range bound tomorrow. So I think we're waiting basically this week for Wednesday. So I don't think there's any problem not having a live room tomorrow, because everything I said today is probably going to be exactly the same on Wednesday morning, but we'll see. But keep your eyes peeled on the financial juice news to see if there's anything exciting coming up there. The Swiss yen trade that I'm in is in profit. The Aussie dollar CAD's in profit. Basically, all everything's break even basically at the minute. Aussie dollar yen coming down nicely. So yeah, all these ADRs today are all starting to play out. All the yen ADRs are starting to move. Not fast though. There's very, very little speed of movement happening at the moment. So, but hopefully these two will play out today. If I can bank another 5% on this, it'd be lovely this week. But we'll see. Dow's getting close. I'm tempted to take that off down there. Just going to trail it. Sorry, just adjust this and then I'll have a look at oil. Gold. Just putting a 40-point trailer on, but I'm going to adjust the trailer to the high of that candle that we've just had. Whoa. I'm going to remove the take profits. So what I'm worried about is putting in a higher low, basically. The reason I'm doing this. So what I'm worried about here is obviously there's two things that could happen. If we are going to not put in a lower low today, there's two things that can happen. We either double bottom, fine. That would hit my 5-hour target, or we put in a higher low. If we put in a higher low, this is where I would expect to start to see some buyers enter the market. Because basically what we've done is we've pushed up, put in a high. If we're going to continue market structure to the upside from here, we should expect a higher low. So what I want to do is trail this now. If it continues to push down to a double bottom, that's fine. I'll lock a little bit more in. If it breaks, fine, take me with you. If you're going to put a higher low in, take me out, and then I can concentrate on getting out the long position. Yeah, just wanted to trail that. And obviously a break of that candle would show that we got some bulls coming back into the market. So at the moment, we're still fully in control with the bears. Gold. So support resistance areas on gold. This is really hard. I mean, we looked at gold this morning. We're out of the lows, basically. So these monthly lows is what we were concentrating on last week. We kind of bounced, we swept those lows and then we bounced off them. And then we collapsed basically straight into the previous month's low. We bounced off of that. And then we collapsed through it on Thursday last week. And then Friday, we basically sat sideways as we did with pretty much everything. So this morning, we've pushed up back and put a new high in. And now we've pulled all the way back down again. So if you look at the structure on this at the minute, it's a mess. So you've got a double bottom, which went in this morning. We pushed up, pulled back, pushed up, broken structure. So we've got a reversal there. And now it's pushed all the way back down into these lows again. So I think what we're looking at here, which is what I kind of said on Friday, is I expect us to hold here until Wednesday. So staying somewhere in this range. So really, you could long it from pretty much where you are now. If you drop down onto 5-minute chart and wait for the next reversal alert long, which is going to be there. You see these just moving from propulsion gap to propulsion gap, filling all the propulsion gaps at the moment. So if you take that reversal alert long, play it back up into the highs, that's pretty much it at the moment, I think, until Wednesday. So, but as for longer term support resistance, it's really tricky on gold. You've got this level here. So this is the high we rejected. We came back up in, tested it, tested it, tested it, broke it, tested it, tested it. So there's nothing apart from that high here. So we looked at it this morning. We identified this high there as the potential stopping point, which was about 250 ADR to the downside. Failing that, this is the obvious, really strong support resistance from ages ago. So one of two things is going to happen on gold on Wednesday. We're either going to get positive figures on the PMIs and gold's coming down, or we're going to get negative PMIs and we're going to go up. So at the moment, we're holding at these lows. So for Wednesday, it's either a case of we're going to start a rally. It's very, very difficult to tell with the US dollar at the moment, but the US dollar always reacts more harshly to negative news. So if we get as expected or lower than expected PMIs, we get a really nice strong move on our gold, and we'd be looking to come back up and target these highs. If we get good news, I think we're going to flush by 250 to 300 ADR before we find a bounce. A bit like that. So we're going to flush out for 2 or 3 days, maybe longer than that. But that's basically what we've got. So that level there. And then obviously the lows, which is the proper, really strong support. But that's absolutely miles away. That's weeks away yet. And the way this thing's going at the moment, you know, we're 2 down weeks in a row. Sorry, we're 3 down weeks in a row. Sorry, we're 4 down weeks. Well, just about 4 down weeks in a row. Look at the weekly chart. Yeah, down, down, down. That was kind of a doji. So we're definitely due some weakness in that US dollar. Big push. Got a good chance of happening. But not till Wednesday. I would like to get the ORB EA, but I would wait until you're done with the new version. This is not a new version of the ORB EA, Andres. This is a new project I'm working on. It's not the new version of the ORB EA. You can replicate exactly what I'm doing on the existing ORB EA. So if you want to hedge, instead of taking a break with a stop, you can do that with the ORB EA. There you go. So stopped out on the Dow shorts, 4.5 grand. So I've got 5-1 of drawdown to deal with. So any kind of pullback on this gets me back into profit. So with the ORB EA, all you do, I should post that set file, shouldn't I? Because I went through it in one of the live rooms, basically. But all you do with the ORB EA is you set your percentage of opening range to something like 1,000. So a 10 times the opening range. So a 10R move. Very unlikely. We do occasionally get a 10R move, but it's way, way, way beyond an ADR. And then you reduce your risk per trade down by 10. So where I was 500 with 100%, I would make it $50 with 1,000% of the average range. So what that will do is it will place your pending buy and sell orders, but your stop losses will be placed absolutely miles away with lower risk. So you're getting with pretty much exactly the same lot size as if you were risking a normal whatever. But if the market whipsaws at the open, you get hedged and lock in that negative move. And then you wait for the market to go wherever you want it to go. Or wherever the market's going to go, not where you want it to go, because it hasn't gone where you want it to go. What you want is it just to break, but that's not what happened. Yeah. So you can do it, but you test it in the back tester. So the ORB EA does exactly what this development version is doing pretty much. The only thing it won't do is analyze the ranges. So all I would say is you have to every day, which is a 2-second job, is you need to look at the ADR on the DAX, which at the moment is 186. And in the minimum and maximum ranges, you go, I want a minimum range of 10%, which is 186. And I want a maximum of 20%, which is 370-ish. Yeah, so you just set your minimum, maximum opening ranges. That will make sure that it does not take a break. And you say, I want to take a break of the pre-market 15 or the post-market 5 or whatever ranges you normally want to trade. So you can do everything that this new version does with this to a certain extent. A little bit more manual. But, this is a development EA, yeah? So it's trading the opening range breaks, but it's here for experimental purposes. I'm testing strategy variations, yeah? There's no reason, this could be absolutely terrible thing to do. What I'm doing here could be shocking. I don't know. I'm not going to release something if it doesn't work. So this is all in testing. The problem is at the moment, because it's summer holidays, I have not had any time to test this any further yet. So because I've been off doing things with the kids over the holidays, so I haven't done any development work at all for the last 4 weeks. So I'm just trading it basically. And this is exactly what I would do if I was trading a hedge. I would wait for a massive potential move like this to unfold and unwind. And so I'm just, as you saw there, I'm manually doing it. But I'm going to build this EA in to test all of these variations. So what should we use as a trailing stop? When should we apply that trailing stop? Should we use a 1R or a 2R variable? There's all sorts of stuff I'm testing and have tested, which is where I came up with the 10 to 20% range being ideal and optimum. But as you saw from the NASDAQ today, yeah, this version of the EA did not take the pre-market 15 because it didn't fall within the criteria that I've tested that shows that is the most profitable way to trade. That doesn't mean you can't make 10R out of it, which you would have. So if you took the pre-market today, well done. This is not what this EA did, but if you'd have taken it, you got a 8R today. Good for you. Which means this statistical analysis didn't work today, did it? But that's what it is. It is an average. On average, when that pre-market range of 15 minutes is tighter than 10% or 20% of the average daily range, more often than not, you get whipsawed, which is what I'm trying to avoid. Doesn't mean it will always be. For every time there is 3 instances where you do get whipsawed, there's 2 instances where you don't, and it goes mental and you would have made a fortune. But it's all about long-term edge, not about what to do on the day, because you don't know what to do on the day, do you? If we knew that, we'd be billionaires, but we're not. There you go. S&P moves with the NASDAQ. How about the Dow? No, the Dow is, as you can see, different. So the Dow is only 30 stocks. So, and these stocks are much bigger organizations. So this is this has a very different movement to these two. These two are very much linked together. One of the reasons is a lot of these companies that are in the NASDAQ supply to the companies in the S&P. So when you hear Apple and vice versa as well. So when you hear Apple has got a new product coming out, what the analysts will do is go, brilliant, Apple's manufacturing something. It's going to have the same touch screen. It's going to have the same motion sensor. It's going to have the same in it. Okay, brilliant. So who are the companies that manufacture those for Apple? Well, they all exist in the S&P 500. Brilliant. So when Apple stock rallies, so does the stock in the dependent companies of Apple, which is why you get, when I talk about sector purchases and correlation, that is what is happening under the hood, is these are moving in tandem because they have similar organizations in and similar sectors of a similar size. The Dow is very different. The DAX is very different. The DAX is made up of, I think, 4 or 5 of the largest motor manufacturers in the world. So when something goes wrong in the motor industry, the DAX will collapse. But these two can actually do what the hell they like, or these 3, because they're nothing to do with the motor industry. Yeah. So it's all to do with the sectors and the stocks included in them. That's why these two are often, today less so, but are often moving the same, whereas this will move independently. So when you want to trade, this is great to trade in the morning, obviously, because it's the Frankfurt session. Afternoon session, you should be trading the Dow and one of these two, or all 3 if you want to, but just bear in mind that these will probably move the same. So if you get stopped out and have a bad day on the NASDAQ or the S&P, you'll probably have a bad day on both. Whereas with these, if you have a bad day on the NASDAQ, you can have an absolute screamer on the Dow Jones because they don't move the same. So it's just diversifying your risk across different instruments to make sure that if one goes, doesn't mean the other one's going to do the same thing. But you will also find they move together as well. So when there is a sector purchase that crosses all of them, they will all go together. So for example, on earnings fortnight, you'll find most of them move in tandem, i.e. they all go very much the same way. But this is why I said this afternoon, yeah, when you spot divergence like this, which is what we had this morning, we had that divergence formed there. So we had higher highs on the NASDAQ and lower highs on the S&P. One of them's right. So you will find usually one of them is correct. So the one that is either the lower high is the one that's going to take control today, or the one that's the higher high is going to take control today. And the other one is just a little bit behind it and will catch up. Today it was the S&P. So the lower high won out, i.e. there were more sellers on the S&P than there were on the NASDAQ. And the NASDAQ's been dragged down because of that. So you can see now we've got lower lows put in, but we've got higher lows put in on the NASDAQ. So we've still got divergence there. So they're not 100% in sync, but as you can see by the movements, yeah, when there is a strong move in the market, they do move the same. So I don't think there's a problem trading all 3, but you will notice on bad days specifically, and good days, that your days would have been less bad if you hadn't have done both of them. Okay. What's your usual stop trade time for the ORB? My usual stop trade time, so session basically. So the Frankfurt closes out at 5 minutes before the New York Open, and the New York Open closes out 5 minutes before the New York close. Thanks for subscribing, Rashid. Welcome aboard. So yeah, just basically get out before the close. Right, I'll leave it there today. So it's 10 to 4. We're getting into the doldrums a little bit now. 1.5 hour in, which is what this dotted line is that you can see there. 1.5 hour in, we've usually found the high or the low of the session. So either this will pull back from here, or we know that that will be the high and we will basically close somewhere below that. So we'll see. It looks like we're coming down to retest. We got more movement to the downside forming on the S&P, which means that this ADR low basically may well be tested. So we'll see. So we've pushed up. So we're either going to put in a W pattern reversal, or we're just putting in another market structure leg down. We'll see what happens. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to break even this S&P because there's no risk on it. In fact, there's $1,000 on the table. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. If we're going to push down, I think we'll probably get a move down on the S&P. So if we can get down to this low on the S&P, which is where 2R is, I'll take that. So that'll be about 2.5 grand or so. And then hopefully get a bounce off that low. But at the moment, I'm $800 down there. So I can close that out now, and I can close that out now and walk away with the money from the DAX this morning, which is grand. We'll see. Give it the benefit of the doubt. But if this does push now, I will get out of that and break even on the day. There's no point in taking a loss on this because I'm only short. And thankfully, that's because of the EA this morning. Yeah. So, you know, whenever you're doing back testing, today's a prime example of, in the real world, what happens in your back tests is not what happens in the real world a lot of the time. Yeah. We completely missed these longs today. Well, I did, because the EA just did not get time to trigger before the market had gone. Market left by the time the orders got into the market. Half a second, market was gone. Missed it. In your backtest results, that will have been a valid trade today. Backtests aren't real. Pound New Zealand. I've already explained that one, haven't I? Did I do Pound New Zealand today? I'll quickly do that before I go. So it's pushing up at the moment. I'm short. It's just pushing up at the moment. So yeah, I'm just waiting for a pullback. We haven't had a pullback since there. Accumulation, accumulation, accumulation. Yeah, we have not pulled back. So I'm waiting for a pullback on this move. Short, 4 shorts, RSI extension, second week in August. And literally, this is what the market's doing. Sideways a little bit, have a little push. Sideways a little bit, have a little push. It will start to pull at some point, but there's no real good support resistance on this because it's we're at the highs on the New Zealand dollar. So you got this little spike up here, but I mean, that's not, I very much doubt. There's no limit orders sitting there. This is Liz Truss breaking the pound. No, sorry, that's COVID, isn't it? Sorry, that's 2020. Yeah, March. That's COVID. So, you know, that COVID spike is, you're not going to have a limit order sitting at the top of the COVID spike. We're out in all-time highs. I don't know where it's going, but I'm just going to wait for it to go down. So you usually allow the EA to keep taking trades until the market close. Yeah, well, the EA, you mean the ORB, it won't take any more trades. No, it's taken all its trades today. This doesn't add positions or do anything. This literally just takes the opening range breakouts. It's programmed to automatically exit the position when we get to a percentage profit here. I can't remember what it is. I think it's 0.5% or something. It's automatically programmed to close out when it makes money, basically. So, yeah, it doesn't do any other trading. That's it. It's done it. I'm now monitoring it. I will close it. Right, so I'll be back on Wednesday. Anything you need, come in Telegram. Back 7:50 Wednesday morning, 2:20 Wednesday afternoon for the New York session as usual. Anything you need, coming Telegram. Other than that, have a good week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you get some movement tomorrow. If not, Wednesday. Yeah, we'll see if we can make some money this week. All right, have a good one. We'll see you on Wednesday.